Sometimes change is a good thing. In Formula 1, that's almost always true, whether it be circuit design or development of each car. If you're not moving in F1, you're standing still. So why were Ferrari so worried about the changes to the Melbourne racetrack? Plus, how has a secret testing session helped keep Ferrari at the top of their game? And why is Aston Martin in trouble again? Stay tuned to find out. First up, the track. 2022 has seen some major design changes for Formula 1 in terms of new financial regulations and technical regulations. It's all designed for closer, more exciting racing. But some of the tracks have made some significant changes too. The Albert Park circuit that hosts the Australian Grand Prix made some upgrades to try and spice things up. The track designer modified turns 9 to 11 to give the cars slightly more speed, and a redesign of turn 13. In addition to that, 5 corners were widened, which effectively slowed lap times but could allow for more exciting racing. Albert Park was set to feature a record 4 DRS zones, but one of them was removed shortly before the race weekend arrived. An official statement said that the changes had been made for safety reasons, but did not go into detail. The changes were welcomed by many of the fans and teams, but Ferrari were concerned about how it would impact their performance. Both of their drivers were worried that the changes wouldn't suit the setup of the current Ferrari. Carlos Sainz said that because the straights have been extended in Australia, Red Bull were likely to be the favorites for the weekend, and their star driver Charles Leclerc agreed, saying that the track characteristics here are not fitting very well with our car. He was instead looking ahead to the next race in Imola for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, but either they were playing mind games or they got their information wrong, because the exact opposite happened. Leclerc flew to victory in Australia, while Verstappen suffered an engine failure. But even without a retirement, Leclerc was projected to finish more than 30 seconds ahead of the Red Bull. Then in Imola, the following fortnight, it was the Ferraris who struggled. Sainz crashed out in the first lap, and Leclerc finished a disappointing P6. Next, a new track? Changes to the Australian track are one thing, but what really shakes things up is a new track. With the Formula 1 calendar pushing itself to its limit of 23 races this season, the ever-expanding traveling roadshow still has demand from plenty of other destinations looking to cash in on recent popularity. In the last 2 decades, it has been destinations in Asia and in the Middle East that have been willing to put up big money to host races. China, Singapore, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia have all been a big boost for F1's bottom line. But with the release of Netflix's Drive to Survive docuseries and a renewed boost in popularity, it has been the United States that has locked in the newest races on the season. F1 just went to its first ever race in Miami, and it was a huge success. And next year, a brand new Las Vegas Grand Prix is set to debut. When you add up the United States Grand Prix in Austin as well, it means that there will be 3 races in the US next year. But wait, there's more. According to the boss of Liberty Media, who owns Formula 1, the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, has opened the door for the Big Apple to host its very own race. The Liberty Media CEO, Greg Maffei, said that there had been a lot of interest expressed from NYC, but that it could be difficult to organize. He said that the venue of Randall Island in the proposal was not ideal, and also that a 4th US race might be one too many. Is this the beginning of the end for F1 in Europe? How have secret tests kept Ferrari at the front of the grid? And could Mercedes have finally had the chance to fix their issues? Don't go anywhere, because that's coming up next. And now let's talk upgrades. Practice makes perfect. Ferrari used their second testing session last month at their home circuit of Monza. Each season, teams are allowed 2 filming days that are dedicated to promotional material but are used by teams for further testing. The distance is limited to 100 kilometers, and teams can only run 1 car at a time. Mercedes have chosen to use their second and final session at Monza with Charles Leclerc behind the wheel. The Italian team locked down the circuit and kept prying eyes away from watching the F175 in action. And at the Spanish Grand Prix, they were head and shoulders above their rivals Red Bull and Mercedes. During an earlier tire test that Ferrari ran at Monza, rivals complained that the Maranello team had broken the rules. Ferrari had run 2 different floor designs, which may have given information to the competitor unrelated to the tire test. Rival teams complained about the possible advantages, but after an FIA investigation, they were cleared of any wrongdoing. They concluded that Ferrari had only changed the component because of damage. After being defeated again in Miami, Leclerc and Sainz were hoping that upgrades based on these tests would make an impact at the Spanish Grand Prix. And they did, and maintained his lead until he had engine trouble on lap 27, limped back to the pits, and was forced to retire. Sainz didn't have much luck either. After going into the gravel early on, he could only manage P4. Up next, a Mercedes test. Ferrari wasn't the only one using their filming session. Mercedes had been drowning in engineering problems early in the season. The root of all that seems to be propoising, which they discovered at preseason testing. The Silver Arrows have been running tests at a number of the Grand Prix to try and get on top of the problem, but with no success. The engineering team will have used every second of the session to try and gain valuable information about propoising, aerodynamics, and where the biggest weaknesses are. While some are still hopeful that a magic solution to Mercedes' worries could help them bounce back, the prospect of a record 8th title is slipping further and further away for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's lackluster performance this season has led to his former rival teammate Fernando Alonso pointing to the strength of Hamilton's car as the key behind his success. He said that a driver needed to have the best car and package for many, many years to break the records that Hamilton has. But he still acknowledged that Lewis deserves everything he's achieved, but wanted this season to serve as a reminder for fans fans that the car and team are the most important part. Alonso said that the reliability and a high-performing car were the keys to his 2 world championships, and Mercedes has finally fixed some of their issues. They brought upgrades to the Spanish Grand Prix, and they paid off big time. George Russell had probably the best race of his career, holding his nerve to finish on the podium in 3rd place. And after a collision sent him to the back, Hamilton came back for an impressive P5. They could be back in the fight, and now keeping up. McLaren doesn't want to be left out of the upgrade party either. They announced 10 upgrades before the Spanish Grand Prix. They included a new front wing design, a new suspension, a revised floor, and a modified rear wing. McLaren will be hoping that these upgrades turn their fortunes around. Although they are 4th in the standings after the big 3 of Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, the results have been less than impressive. The highest result was a podium with Lando Norris, but his teammate Daniel Ricciardo's highest place finished in P13. In a garage close by, Aston Martin will be hoping to steal some podiums too. They have been significantly off the pace this season and hovering around P10 on their best of days. But Aston Martin also revealed significant upgrades before the Spanish Grand Prix, and they certainly turned some heads in the paddock. That's because what appeared in the pits for the first practice session in Barcelona had some close similarities with Red Bull's design, the side pods in particular, the side pods and the cooling panel. But the FIA have investigated the similarities and is satisfied that no reverse engineering or illicit intellectual property transfer had taken place. However, it's not the first time the team has been accused of copying its competitors' designs. In 2020, when the team was known as Racing Point, they were fined €400,000 after an investigation concluded they had stolen designs from the previous year's championship-winning Mercedes. That led to the car being dubbed the Pink Mercedes, and despite the fine, they were allowed to continue racing throughout the season. Now, the team's car has been dubbed the Green Red Bull. Will they ever be known by their own name? Do you think that Ferrari will be able to keep up with Red Bull's development this season? And which midfield team do you want to see come out on top? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.